Australia produces about 250,000 tonnes of whole fish weight, and we import over 200,000 tonnes of fillet weight, therefore making consumption around 400,000 tonnes. So we're only producing half of what we need.
Could the local industry produce more?
Ocean catch is at a sustainable level, and our aquaculture is still in early stages. For example, Australian prawn farming started in 1984. Thailand started the same year. Australia produces 4,000 tonnes. Thailand produces 900,000 tonnes.
Why is there such a discrepancy when they both started at the same time?
You must remember that most Southeast Asian countries have been aquaculture farming for over 2,000 years. And the cost of land is cheaper, labour is cheaper, and the world demand is getting bigger and bigger.
But there's still a perception within Australia that imported seafood is substandard fish produced in substandard conditions.
In all of my 47 years in the industry, I have never seen a television program that depicts the truth. All we see is a one-sided, slanted view in favour of what the program is really about.
So what are these programs all about?
These programs are about NGOs making money, 2, protecting small sectors of industry so as to limit the competition to these sectors, and that's currently applying here in Australia.
So what you're saying is that we simply cannot keep up with the amount of fish that people need to eat in a healthy diet if we rely solely on local product?
No, we can't, and we won't for many, many years ahead. Fisheries Research and Development, in one of their research papers, quote very clearly that by the year 2050 we will need over 1 million tonnes of seafood simply to sustain the current per capita usage of today.
Is it a similar story in other countries?
Yes, it is. The US, 90% of seafood consumed is imported. Even the UK, which was 20 years ago a prime producer of seafood, is now importing as well.
And many of them are importing from Asia. Why are they doing that?
Simply because Asia is the main area for producing prawns throughout the world. They are also at the forefront of aquaculture of fish, bassa, which has been very maligned as coming from the sewerage of the world, but that's far from the truth. Bassa now has received international accreditation by Best Aquaculture Practice, and barramundi, the quality of barramundi coming out of Southeast Asia, is far superior to most Australian plants.
You mentioned barramundi, and many Australians believe that barramundi is a native Australian fish. It doesn't come from anywhere else other than Australia.
Not so. Barramundi is indigenous to at least 7 oceans in the world. It's exactly the same species that is either caught or farmed here. It's internationally recognised in the US, EU, and even the World Bank recognises as one name, one fish, and that's barramundi.
But barramundi is an Aboriginal word.
It's an Aboriginal word for hard scales. It's not an Aboriginal word specifically for the species. The same species of barramundi is caught prolifically through Southeast Asia and farmed there as well. We happen to represent the world's largest barramundi operation, and they have an open cage set up in Southeast Asia, which was recently awarded a world's first best quality award by Ocean Watch. This farm is capable of producing the entire Australian production in 1 year.
So the conditions that these fish are being reared in are pristine?
I've been in the industry for 47 years, and the first day that I set sight on this operation, I was just simply blown away. The water quality is brilliant. There are no land-based operations to pollute the water. There are no rivers or creeks flowing in, and the conditions for growing the fish are just brilliant. The product that we are selling out of Southeast Asia is far more consistent in quality and taste compared to the Australian land-based operation product.
Let's talk about the cost to the consumer. Is it cheaper to buy fish from Asia?
It's cheaper to buy imported seafood from anywhere if you compare it to the cost of local Australian product.
How much cheaper?
In some cases 30%, in other cases 10%, in some cases 50%. Flathead, for example. Local Australian flathead from Southeast Trawl would cost you over $40 for fillets. You can buy imported flathead from South America at under $16. Bassa is probably the most prolific farmed fish in the world. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a good piece of bassa. The fish itself is the main staple that's now being used in our aged care and hospital systems. Without bassa, our aged population would not get the seafood protein that they need. Not all Australians can afford $40 or $50 a kilo. Local barramundi, for example, minimum price you'll find fresh barramundi is $30 to $35 a kilo. Imported barramundi, anywhere between $14 to $19. All of the fish imported into Australia is produced in factories that are of international standards. They all come under various food safety plans such as HACCP. In addition to that, the Australian government has a very stringent test regime for imported seafood, and to meet those standards the product quality must be excellent.
One of the main issues at the moment, and it comes around time and time again, is correct labelling. If you are going to a restaurant or you are going into a fishmonger's or a supermarket, you need to know where the fish you're buying comes from.
Well, there are regulations in place at the moment, and there is no problem a restaurateur or a takeaway food operator telling you exactly where the fish comes from. But what we are facing at the moment is a mounted attack by a couple of sectors of the Australian industry, backed by NGOs, to force the labelling in restaurants. Now, all of the work so far to substantiate their push has been done on a Northern Territory operation of speaking to 40 only operators. What about the other 39,000 restaurants that are located around Australia? Of course, as an importer, I support proper and correct labelling, but not when it's specifically seafood only and specifically designed to have an import tariff barrier brought about by legislation and not by telling the truth. If after interviewing 39,000 restaurant operators they come to this decision, of course we would support it. But until then, it's only designed to protect a couple of sectors of the Australian industry, and they know who they are.